What's going on, everyone? It is the Derf, and today I am taking a trip down my own memory lane. I've got an excellent Arc Hunter build for you guys. This build can be taken into any variety of activities, up to and including GMs and endgame style play. If you're looking for an OG build that can stun all the champions, that can put out extremely high DPS, and has one of the best supers in the game, this is the build for you. This is the class that I first started on when I first picked up Destiny for the very first time, and I vowed to never ever forget my roots, and this is definitely a fun video for me. And oh, by the way, you guys are going to have a lot of fun zipping around and leveling the battlefield with lightning like crazy. So if you do find anything helpful in this video, please consider liking and subscribing. If you do know a hunter who is in need of a great arc build and maybe doesn't have Prismatic unlocked, this is a great video for them as well. Tons of orbs of power, being able to spam your super, being able to spam your abilities, and you look extremely cool doing it. So without further ado, let's get on into it. So we've got the Hunter subclass Arc Strider. The super of choice is Gathering Storm. This is the super that you want to have. Basically, you hurl a staff at an enemy, it embeds in them, and then it causes a bunch of lightning strikes. It is extremely eye-pleasing, and oh, by the way, it does a ton of damage and jolts overload champions. For abilities, I picked the Marksman Dodge because I want to be able to reload my weapon anytime that I want. For the triple jump is my preferred jump. You know, as far as how to move, there are some people that like blink. You can put that on this too. Combination blow is going to be the one that you want. It's got a 40-second base cooldown, and it increases your melee damage and also refills your class ability. For the grenade, I've got the flashbang grenade, an explosive grenade that damages and blinds nearby targets. That's going to be extremely important because you can stun unstoppable champions that way. And oh, by the way, we're going to have multiple ways to stun unstoppable champions. Now you've got one for each. You can stun overloads with your super, and now you can stun unstoppables with your flashbang grenade. For aspects, I've got the flow state. Defeating a jolted target makes you amplified. When you are amplified, your dodge recharges more quickly and you are more resilient when dodging, and your reload speed is greatly increased. So you don't have to be up close and personal to get amplified. That is important because you want to be moving as fast as possible as a hunter. For the second aspect, I have Tempest Strike. While sliding, activate your charge melee ability to unleash a devastating uppercut attack that travels along the ground in front of you, damaging and jolting targets that it hits. Jolt stuns overload champions, so yet another way to stun a difficult champion. Also, this looks extremely similar, kind of, to the Warlock version of this, which is why I've got it selected. Some folks may prefer to use Ascension, but I think Tempest Strike is just as fun and just as potent. For Fragments, Spark of Discharge, Arc Weapon Final Blows have a chance to create an Ionic Trace. It does take away from your strength, which is a bummer, but Ionic Traces are your lifeblood if you are running an Arc class. You want as many Ionic Traces, and you could get 1,000,000 Ionic Traces and you're still going to want more. It replenishes your ability energy, and that is the key here, getting your abilities back as fast as possible. Spark of Ions, defeating a jolted target creates an Ionic Trace. We're going to be jolting targets left and right, so we want to have the ability to get something out of it on top of stunning your overload champions. So how about an Ionic Trace? Get your abilities back faster so you can move on and keep wreaking havoc on the enemies of the Traveler. Spark of Amplitude, rapidly defeating targets while you are amplified, generates an orb of power. Orbs of power equals ability energy. Ability energy equals amplified. Amplified equals more ability energy. and so on and so forth. And oh, by the way, you're going to get your super back extremely quick the more that you kill. Spark of Brilliance is the last one. Defeating a blinded target with precision damage creates a blinding explosion. So that's why I have the flashbang grenade equipped. When blinded, unstoppable champions are stunned. Excuse me. So the crux of the build here is the ability to stun 2 different types of champions, all while getting your ability energy back as fast as possible. As an arc class, your goal is to be moving as fast as possible and to have your abilities refresh as often as possible. So all of these things are playing into how you are hopefully going to be able to play in any activity, whether that's a GM, a raid. Also, just side note, I used to use this a lot on certain raids, and it's even better now since they went back and reworked some of the old exotics, and some of the new weapons are going to help in this as well. For armor, I have maxed out resilience, and I've got a T7 in discipline and intellect. Now, I can tell you right now, you don't need a T7 in intellect. If I were to redo this armor, I would be focusing on resilience, strength, and then discipline in that order. So if your stats don't look exactly like mine do, but you do have T10 in resilience, try to max out your strength as high as possible, or you can also max out your mobility and get your class ability back even faster. Although all it does for you in this instance is reload your weapon. But either way, that's something that no other class can do. They can't dodge and instantly reload your weapon like a hunter can. For weapons, I've got the Lost Signal in my kinetic slot. This does great AoE damage, and it also can be used to weaken enemies, which I will get into here in 1 second. Vantage Point Pulse Rifle. This is the main add clear weapon. This is going to send jolts to all enemies that you dump enough rounds into. So that means it will stun overloads because of the jolt, and because it is a pulse rifle this season, unstoppable champions can be stunned with pulse rifles. So you can stun 2 different types of champions with this weapon, which also means you're going to be generating a ton of ionic traces just with this weapon, on top of all the ones you're going to generate from your abilities and mods. Last but not least, Old Faithful. Thunderlord makes a reappearance. This is an excellent weapon to use as your exotic weapon of choice if you choose to use it. You can also swap this out for a Hullabaloo if you want the grenade launcher, and you can also put on a shotgun in place for barriers. If you need to be able to stun a barrier champ, you're not going to be able to do that with any of these, but you can do it with the shotgun. I recommend Conditional Finality or Until It's Returned. And then you can put on, Hullabaloo, or if you have like an arc rocket launcher for burst DPS, all of those are going to play very well, but your main ad clear is going to be Vantage Point. For the helmet, I've got a Harmonic Siphon, a Heavy Ammo Finder, and I've got hands-on because I want to get bonus super regen when I punch things. And because this is going to be a more aggressive style class, I'm opting in for hands-on over ashes to assets, because the grenade that I have chosen is not a damage heavy grenade. It is mainly to stun or blind enemies. So put your hands on and get your bonus super energy. For the gauntlets, I have a firepower on here just for the sake of having firepower, but honestly, this would be a good place where you could have 3 heavy-handed. That means any melee that you use will end up generating you an orb of power. And since you're going to be generating orbs of power and getting bonus super energy back because of what we've got on our helmet, you're going to be getting other abilities back faster as well because of that orb of power. As far as the chest armor goes, 2 damage resistance mods, and then it's your choice what you want to do with this last one. If you're lacking in resilience, put on the Font of Endurance. If you want bonus reserves, you can put on the Reserves mod. Or if you want to put on a third element, you can put on a third elemental damage resistance. But the mods over here don't matter as much. What actually matters on this chest is that Raiju's Harness is more powerful now than ever. Activating Gathering Storm calls down lightning on all nearby targets, jolting them while also amplifying allies. Defeating arc debuff targets grants a small amount of Gathering Storm energy. That last sentence is huge for this build because we're using Vantage Point with jolting feedback. Pretty much every other enemy we kill is going to be an arc debuffed enemy, which means every 2 enemies or so, or more often, or however it works out for us, we're going to be getting bonus super energy for literally just doing nothing but firing our arc weapon. So it's an excellent exotic piece to have. If you have not pulled this out of inventory in a long time, or you've never even tried it, this is your sign. Raiju's Harness. Please, 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 if you are an Arc Hunter, try it out with Gathering Storm. Let me know what you guys think about it, but I'm telling you, it is more fun than ever to activate Gathering Storm with this chest armor, and know that I'm going to get it back within as little as 1 minute, depending on the activity that I'm running. Add dense heavy activities are going to give you your super back more quickly. So, onslaughts, raids, GMs, certain Vanguard missions, this is going to pair with pretty much everything. So if you haven't pulled this out or you haven't tried it in a long time, try it. I'm telling you, it's going to be worth the effort to masterwork it. For the leg armor, I'm taking advantage of double invigoration as well as an absolution. I do want all my ability energy back equally, but I want my invigoration a little bit more. I also can substitute the absolution out for a harmonic scavenger if I need to. Because I'm running a legendary weapon, sometimes the ammo bricks are not going to spawn as frequently. So maybe harmonic scavenger might be a better bang for your buck. Just depends on what heavy you're running. Last but not least, the Hunter Cloak. Font of Restoration is a staple in all of my builds. I want my recovery to be as high as possible. When you pick up that first Orb of Power, it gives you a plus 30 to your recovery stat. So take advantage of it. It is worth the 3 energy cost of the mod itself. The other 2 mods are not as important, but Outreach is what I've elected to go with. Actually, double Outreach, because I am going to be dodging fairly often, and I want my melee ability to come back quicker, because at some point, I'm going to be up in the face of enemies, punching them, and I would really, really like to have it be a charged melee, so I can get my class ability energy back quicker and use it, and then use the melee again. So kind of a cycle there with using your dodge, punching, using your dodge, and so on and so forth. But like I said, you can swap this out for a bomber, or you can take one of these down and just use it for Reaper, so you can get the orb of power after the class use. Either way, I don't think you can go wrong, but I want to be able to get my recovery as high as possible, in the heat of battle, so that's why I've got Font of Restoration. For the artifact, there's a lot of different things you guys can use for this, so I'm just going to go through it how I have it right this second. Unstoppable Pulse Rifle, so I can stun the Unstoppables. And then Overload Breachload Grenade Launcher. I know that I don't need this if I'm running Jolting Feedback. However, the AoE damage is pretty great. So with Lost Signal, typically speaking, there's going to be other enemies around your Overload, at least to begin with. And I like to throw out the Grenade Launcher. You also get a bump to the Grenade Launcher because of Concussive Reload. Using a Grenade Launcher to damage a boss, damage a champ, or break a combatant shield weakens them. That's also why I have the Breachload Grenade Launcher equipped. It's not necessarily because I need to rely on it to stun champions. It's because I get so much extra from that by using it. Rapid Impacts goes hand in hand with that. I get increased reload speed, even though it does have auto reloading. So just something to think about. But if you don't want to use the grenade launcher, you can refund this and get yourself anti-barrier shotgun, and instead you can put on kinetic impacts, which is sustained damage with a power grenade launcher causes the enemy to emit a shockwave that damages nearby enemies, and the shockwave can stun unstoppables. You can do that as well, but I think you'll appreciate what the lost signal can do for you with the way the class is set up. It's kind of a nice intro to a sweaty fight. Pop off a lost signal round and then go right into your vantage point. It's going to be a nice pair. I'm using a Dark Ether Reaper origin trait weapon in the vantage point, so it's a good idea to put on the enhanced ether generator. It spawns the extra charges, and then those can be used to deal additional damage. Trace evidence is a staple in this, as well as retinal burn, as well as arc compounding. All three of these are going to go hand in hand. You're going to get the ionic traces, you're going to get the blind, and you're going to do increased damage to blind targets. So all three of these I recommend having on any arc class, hands down. The last two, or I guess the third one, authorized mods melee. That's because I've got the extra melee mod on my helmet as well as on my arms. If you want the grenade and you want to spam the grenade more, swap this out for the grenade and then just put the grenade mods on. Either way, you can't go wrong. The last two, the thick of it and curative orbs. First time you break a target's shield, you create an orb of power. That is a big one. Because I'm using a breach load grenade launcher and I'm using Thunderlord, I'm going to be breaking a lot of shields. So it's a good idea to get an orb of power for all of your hard work. And then last but not least, the thick of it, the rapid final blows while surrounded grant you armor charge. Doesn't matter what you're killing with. If you are surrounded and you get rapid kills, you get an armor charge. So armor charges play into the retinal burn, the trace evidence, and the arc compounding. So these four right here are going to serve you very well if you're an aggressive arc player. So that is the build. I had a lot of fun putting this build together, and it is extremely fun to use, and it just so happens to be extremely potent because of the artifact mods. But either way, even if there was no artifact and I was just picking a build, maybe I don't have Prismatic, maybe I've never dabbled in Prismatic, or I don't understand Prismatic, but I just want a solid elemental build that I can take into any activity and know that I can keep up with my teammates and possibly lead the way as well with orbs, ability regen, and super spam. This is the build. Back in the day when I was an arc hunter, I swore up and down that I would never ever pick anything else because it was so much fun to use. But the one drawback back then was that the super took forever to come back. Even with mods and things like that, it just didn't come back as quickly as it can here in 2025. And honestly, I'm glad that it can come back faster because it's one of the most visually appealing supers you can use. And now that some of these exotics that have been around for a while have gotten a rework or a buff to their potency, it makes being a arc hunter more fun than arguably ever. And oh, by the way, the class itself, the build itself, with how we have it right this second, can take on GM level content very well. And that is important as well. But if you aren't doing GMs and you're looking for something that can still decimate any enemies of the Traveler you can come across, this is the build. So hopefully you guys found something helpful in this video. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. I've been very blessed with some of the feedback that I've gotten. I've gotten a lot of positivity and good vibes, and I just want to say that I really enjoy making these videos for you guys. I want to help as many people as possible. That's where the like and the subscribe helps, because it will put these how-to videos, these helpful videos, in front of other people for the right reasons. It is kind of a interesting time in Destiny with all the drama surrounding Bungie last year, and now we're going to be transitioning out of Revenant here in less than a month. there's plenty of new players out there still looking for how-to videos, and there's plenty of people that, even savvy veterans like myself, we're still discovering new ways to have fun with this game. And that's what these videos are all about, just bringing people together and helping people get better at something that they like to do. So like and subscribe if you choose. If not, please consider sharing with a hunter that you know is looking for a good build, or maybe a hunter that just wants a new build to play around with. This is a great one for them. Don't forget, I'm going to have a link in the description for DIM, as well as a link to my Discord. You can get at me directly on there if you want to bounce ideas off me, if you want to ask how to do this, how to do that, if you want to just chit chat, doesn't really matter. Destiny related, I'm all good with that. Any way that I can help you better enjoy Destiny is a win for you, and it's a win for me, because I do really enjoy helping as many people as possible. But I'm going to quit yapping. Ordinarily, I would take this right into the Breakneck mission to show you the ability regens and how you can cycle through all of your abilities. But I'm going to go right into Altars of Sorrow, just so you can see in virtually no time at all how quickly you can get your super back, how quickly you can get amplified, and how quickly you can get your abilities back. So I'm going to transfer my Guardian from orbit here into the Altars of Sorrow and just show you guys in real time. So I just spawned into Altars of Sorrow. Looks like I am one of the first ones on the scene here, so I'll be able to show you in real time how this is all going to work. As you can see, I'm getting my punches in, I'm getting my bonus to my super regen, I'm getting all these different things are just going to be helping me increase the potency of my character. You can see I did ignore that nightmare on purpose so I could get to more enemies, but you can see I've been in here for less than a minute, and my super energy, the ionic traces are coming back, and oh, by the way, my abilities are coming back as well. So all of these things are helping me get my super back extremely quickly. And it just so happens that all of these arc debuffed enemies are giving me bump after bump after bump back to Gathering Storm in the end. So I'm 2 nightmares in. Looks like I've got someone that decided to join me after all. And here we go. I mean, the amount of damage you do with this super is unbelievable, and the fact that it embeds itself into the boss or the champion. That's why I like to use this super on raid bosses whenever possible, because it just deals continuous damage. And oh, by the way, I've got 25% of my super back, and I haven't really done anything since the super except shoot at enemies. So that's where this is going to be extremely fun. You get your ability energy back, you get your ionic traces, and you get amplified extremely often with this build. And it's what makes this build so fun to use. And this Altars of Sorrow is a good balance of semi-sweaty at times, and then there's breaks in the action. So I went through that first altar, and I'm literally already on to my second super. So in an onslaught, in a GM, this is going to be recharging even faster than what it normally is. So, oh, by the way, there we go. You can see on the screen, just from shooting that one enemy, I had an armor charge and I had rapid impacts already procced with just basically doing the bare minimum. And again, one of the most visually appealing supers that you can use in this game. And by the way, I haven't even used my Thunderlord, but just for the sake of using it, I'm going to just pick off enemies here. Look at my super energy returning. That's because of that return stroke on the Thunderlord. So I'm getting an arc buff every time I use a Thunderlord round on an enemy, even if it's a minor enemy. And of course I ran out of ammo, which is why I have the heavy ammo finder on there. So I guess I should probably run over the heavy ammo brick. But again, all these orbs of power up here, I still haven't even gotten them. And boom, I got my super back again. So if you are a fan of Arc, if you like the Arc Hunter, but you haven't picked up Raju's Harness in a while, it is time to pull that out of the vault and put your Arc abilities to use. And again, like I said, it's going to be a lot of fun to use. So that's the video. Thank you guys so much for your support. Hope this helps someone out there, in their builds, in their love for Hunter. I was an Arc Hunter for a long time, and I swore up and down that I was never going to change. And for good reason. Arc Hunter has always been fun to use, but it's still one of the best characters to use in the game today. If you are a fan of Arc, if you are a fan of Hunter, I mean, just look at the super energy that comes back from basically doing nothing except, laying waste to the enemies in front of you. And again, that Hunter dodge means you can reload your Thunderlord and get your super back quicker. So thank you guys for all your support. Hope this helps someone out there. And we'll see you guys next time. Take care.